Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some Eberron today, which I am super excited about. Before we jump into anything, I just want to say real quick, we have been having so many tech issues at the moment, so please bear with us if it goes down. We're getting it back as soon as possible, and unfortunately we can't actually solve it without it happening. So bear with us. I know other people are dealing with it as well. Also, please check out the content warning for this show, and also the links coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord, where we have a channel if you want to go and talk about this game specifically. We'd love to hear about it. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube, and all of our games, including this one, are in YouTube playlists, so you can catch up over there. If you want to get into this game or any of the other viewer games, please head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM, and we will get you on the list. We are running extra games now, as everyone is at home. So let's escape into some fantasy worlds whilst we do it. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Hero Forge. You'll have seen they absolutely smashed their Kickstarter. Their colourful printed minis are incredible. We're doing some more stuff with them very shortly, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, the wonderful Maychan Press. You just saw their Fayfolio before this episode. It's a wonderful thing. You can also check out their Dark Matter, which you can now buy in hardback, which is basically space and D&D smushed together, and it's wonderful. So go check that out as well. Also, the wonderful Deck of Many, with the Deck of Many Things, the magic moving spell cards, which you can donate to affect this game if you so wish. They also created Humblewood, which is another one of our viewer games, which you can check out. And last but certainly not least, our newest sponsor, Dungeon Fog. They help you create your maps and get your notes together, and it's brilliant because it really helps you structure your campaigns and your world building. Every time you update something on your map, it automatically updates in your notes, and vice versa. Really handy. Okay, let's go round and say hello to everyone. And we'll start. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Faye, because Faye couldn't be here. You know, please go check out all of her stuff. She's a wonderful human and needed a break because she is a nurse. So send all love her way. Otherwise, we're going to start as we always do with the very lovely Hans. Oh, hi.
Hello, I'm actually going to plug Faye this time. She's actually a doctor, so she's working very hard in the hospital. I know, it's a lot. Everybody's got a lot going on. I'm very appreciative also to all of you, because there's tech stuff going on like crazy. I can't even play my Twitch live while this is going on because it's just like everything's blown up. But we'll be fine. Everybody have a good time. I'm playing Basil Velderan. He doesn't know how to have a good time, but he's interested in the concept. He would love to see it happen in actuality. So looking forward to that. He's a very good half-orc sorcerer who may or may not just set things on fire and make the ground shake for no reason.
Wonderful, thank you. And then we're going to hop down to Mages and Mentors. Oh, hi.
Well, hi everybody. Mages and Mentors. I don't know what I'm supposed to promote here.
Where can we find you on the internet?
Oh, yeah, find me on the internet. Okay. Twitter.com/Mages and Mentors, Twitch.com/Mages and Mentors. I play a lot of D&D and a little bit of Magic and have fun. Today I am playing Boots, Sassy Cleric, Grave Domain, and I haven't gotten to play as a D&D player in like a year because I'm consistently just a DM, so I'm here to make some decisions.
Wonderful, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Allmax D20. Oh, hi. Oh, you seem to be muted.
I do that sometimes. So, hi, I'm Max. I can be found at AllMaxD20 on Twitter. I recently put out a 3-page little tabletop role-playing game where you get to be teddy bears cheering up children. And I'm going to be playing Sulinar, the orcish druid, today.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so we will dive in. We're just leaving Shan behind as it seemed to become overrun by something, these creatures, this almost like this darkness that took over, and how the Warforged seemed to be slightly affected by some of these things. and we escaped out on an airship, fought our way through many of the alleyways of Sharn, and escaped onto this airship, which took off into the open sky. And in this open sky rose up a dragon, which you can see flying off into the distance, heading towards the direction of Sire, old Sire, where this huge sort of very stormy, dark purple cloud is forming, a huge one that's almost becoming like a swirl in the distance. Atop this dragon rides someone. And without even looking back at all of you, they dive this dragon towards Sire. You can hear the screech from its jaws as it opens and roars through its mouth. Those beating of the wings as it flies away. And Basalt, you are left on deck with some other people as well, many other people, but mainly this captain, this air genasi that is currently catching her breath as she managed to, well, kind of efficiently get you out of port very, very quickly. And her name is Alia, and she stands there with her as much as there is a very strong breeze going on right now, her hair almost moves against it, as if it has a breeze of its own. And she stands there very much in, we'll call it fairly fabulous captain's uniform, the jacket and everything. She seems to take pride in her looks, a rapier at her side. But she sort of leans against the mast slightly with this honeycomb sail now billowing as it takes you out of Sharn. It's like, okay, did anyone else see the dragon, or am I hallucinating or something like that? Also, who are you? And she points at Basalt.
Yes, I saw the dragon. It's very clearly a large dragon.
Okay, it's real. It's real. Oh God, it's real. And she sort of starts to not panic, but she seems a little bit stressed.
Understandable. I'm Basil Veldoran from House Thrashk.
Oh, a house member. It is a pleasure to meet you, sir. Is that what you would prefer?
That's fine. Basil's fine as well. And what was your name, Captain?
Captain Arya.
Arya? All right, very good.
Yes, I don't know half the people on my ship right now. And she sort of looks around and she's like, people I think jumped on in the panic. Not that I'm complaining, but who are you? And she sort of points over towards Boots. She sort of starts walking towards you, hands behind her back, and sort of standing fairly tall. She's about 5'8".
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And to be fair, the boots help, but she stands pretty tall.
Sure. So she's technically just a little bit taller than me. I'm like 5'6"-ish. And I'm kind of gazing at the dragon with a sense of wonder. It's more along the lines of like, cool. And just kind of like listening to her at the same time, like enthralled type of situation. And goes, oh, I'm Boots. Hello.
Boots. And what does Boots look like?
Boots is pale, 5'6", pale, long blonde hair. But the white eyes are like pure white. Because it's I can't pronounce the word correctly, but it's the Kalish Star.
Oh, the Kalish Stars. Yeah.
So it's got that faded core looking type of outfit persona. Wearing a very nice like traveler's duster type of situation, like the heavy nice black leather type situation, and holds themselves in a good repose of not being shocked by anything, but just enthralled by what's happening around them.
And she sort of looks to you, like, right, Boots, can you steer a ship? Have you been on a ship before? Do you know how to tie a knot? Do you know how to secure things? Do you know how to secure a mast? Do you, you do?
So like you say that, and then she, Boots looks at you for the first time and goes, aye, Captain, and starts walking around the deck and starts doing spot checks of things that need to be investigated.
She looks pretty chuffed by it. The fact that you immediately get to it. Like, oh, this is the fastest I've had the reaction to. Okay. And she goes around a few other people before coming towards you. Is it Solinar? Is that how I'm saying it? Or Sulinar?
Sulinar would be better. Yeah.
Sulinar. Where can we find Sulinar on this ship?
Right at the front, looking where the dragon came from. Just like leaned over, looking like he, at the moment, may be about to fall off the edge. He is about a 6'2", stooped full orc, just looking like a child in that direction.
She sort of leans with you, looks at it as it slowly sort of disappears onto the horizon. It's like, you're not nervous at all? You know this isn't a normal thing.
Oh, what really is normal, though? I've seen weird things, and that's really weird. But that makes it really cool.
Weird, I will give you, but also dangerous. You realize that is a very big flying thing with teeth. Big teeth. And we are also in the air with it.
Well, it's going that way, right? I turn back the other way and look. I don't see any more coming, so maybe we got lucky.
And she sort of looks at your enthusiasm, especially after being met with bootses as well. I was like, right. Have you been on a boat before?
I mean, not one that goes on the floating water.
The airship.
Not an airship, no.
Oh gosh, no! Don't put them on the water. It's, do you know how? Do you know what's in the water? All sort of heebie-jeebie creatures and stuff like that. You never know what's in the water. I mean, admittedly, there's now a dragon in the sky, but I can see that coming.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go near water. Fish tinkle in there.
I mean, yes. And she sort of pauses for a moment before turning and addressing all of you. Right. You're all on my airship. And, well, I guess we're stuck together for a little bit. Just so you know, I'm heading in the direction of Rote. I can't really drop you off on the way, if I'm honest, because we are about to, she sort of leans over the edge, and you can see this huge forest. As you leave Sharn behind, there seems to be only a small sort of section of field and pathways until you hit this very dense forest, the King's Forest, beneath you. And she sort of pauses and looks around again, hands behind her back. It's like, I will take you to Rote, then anyone who wishes to continue with me on my journey, feel free, but right now I'm not stopping. You don't stop in the King's Forest.
I've seen enough forest in my time. I'm trying to get around the world, so sounds good to me.
Good. Now, I'm going to need, well, this fellow, and sort of points towards Boots. It's like, seems to already be making themselves incredibly useful. I'm going to need someone on lookout, and I'm going to need someone else to help fan the sails and control them and steer them. Who's up for it?
I might be able to help with the sails.
Boots definitely went to the wheel.
And you
would get hurt on the rush.
I need a lookout. Do you have sharp eyes?
Yeah, I got sharp eyes.
Okay, then take this. And she pushes like this telescope into your hand and sort of starts pushing you towards the front of the ship where you were originally. She looks to Boots and nods as he takes the helm, and then turns to Basso. I was like, right, okay, it's a pulley system, okay? And she stands you behind this sail, which is this very sort of amber and gold honeycomb. It's like, this one you put this way, and then this one you put this way. If that goes too slack, then you're going to want to pull this. Now, this lever is for something completely different. You do not touch that lever. But the one left of it, you pull it if you want it to go down.
I was thinking more along the lines of creating hot air, but
You can do that
I could
too?
pull on the rope. I could probably.
I mean, that would help, because I don't know how long this breeze is going to keep up. We've got engines, but I don't really want to waste them when I don't have to.
Understood.
Right. Okay. Then don't touch any rope. And she sort of starts to move away. And you all you have this ship as it glides through the air. This dragon has now disappeared on the horizon. That storm, however, has not, as it's starting to brew. You're a very safe distance from it, but you can see it growing and growing. And there's this feel as you go over the King's Forest. You can see that the trees themselves, the tops of them, the breeze does not match the way the trees are moving. Almost as if they have their own sort of atmosphere around them. You can see here and there, sort of poking up between the branches and the trees, these birds that sort of fly up in sort of bursts. But it looks very, not dark. You can see in between the trees, but these trees are tall. They're very, very wide in the trunk. Very circular. There don't seem to be any extra... There's branches, but a lot of them are very, like how a child would draw them, like a stick with the leaves on the top. And Silinar, if you are keeping a watch out, could you make me a perception check, please? 21. Okay. On a 21, how is Silinar looking around? Does he have a technique, or is he literally just using the telescope and sort of kind of doing as he's told?
He's doing as he's told. Looking down, looking at everything he can. He wants to see as much as he can see.
Yeah, as you sort of move this telescope around, you can hear it clicking and clacking and different filters going over it, and all of these different things that sort of tweak as you turn it and move it. And just in the distance, and on a 21, you can tell coming towards you very, very fast, is another airship. And you can see on board lots and lots of these creatures. Maybe something you haven't seen before. These soldiers. These skeletons. Almost in this heavy armor. The armor that is, as much as they are made of bone, their armor is not, but it has been fashioned to look as if it is made of bone. And you can see them come sort of herring towards you. They are armed. And they seem to be coming towards you at top speed. And I will say, looking at their ship, it's probably about the same size as the one you're on. But they're not showing that they're going to turn. They look like they're going to ram.
Captain, something weirder than a dragon's coming at us.
So, what do you mean?
Do you got sky pirates up here?
I haven't seen a sky pirate in years. Troublemakers, yes, but show me.
I recommend turning the ship, and I hand it over.
Okay. She takes it, looks at it, and she lingers there for a moment. You see her withdraw, blink, wipe the end of the telescope, and then look through again. Before she turns to all of you, including some of these other people, it's like, okay, be ready, they are going to ram us. And I don't really know what to do about it as they come up at this speed. And
how fast are we going?
You are going, it wasn't like a super speed going, it was almost like a gentle moving, decent speed, but you're going nowhere near as fast as this ship. And as it gets closer and closer, you see this mast, these ragged sails, very much honeycomb in style like yours, but huge holes in it, rips and tears. And you can hear these creatures screeching and yelling as they come towards this ship.
How long until they close the distance?
This looks to be minutes at the speed they're going. there anything anyone would like to do?
I cast Bark Skin.
Okay.
What does our ship look like? Like, do we have armaments? Do we have a statue of some sort at the front? Do we have a way in which we can redirect their barging angle? Like, if I do some crazy boat stuff, how can I use the boat?
Definitely, combined with Boots and Vassal, you could definitely try turn the ship to avoid the full brunt of it. You've got the Maidenhead at the front.
Mhm.
This is, however, more of a transport ship.
Sure.
So it's got it's stocky, so it's got like some weight behind it, but this other one is almost thin and sharp, and you know you want to turn this so it doesn't go straight through you.
Yep. But I want to turn it at the right angle so I don't want us to turn so that we're full sideways and get rammed into it. So I want to pivot it at the right angle to kind of push them away from a point of impact that matters. I don't know what on the deck lines matter for where people are clustered versus goods versus defensive things. I want them to hit the points the least impactful for us.
Okay. Could you make me a sleight of hand check, please? And Basil, if you can aid, if you're literally in control of the air and the sails right now. Okay. Basil, if you would like to aid, could you also roll me? Could you roll me? I'll say a sleight of hand check, but you can roll it at advantage because you're literally using your spell for it.
Okay. Sleight of hand being one of my less good things I can do, but it's fine.
Nat 20.
Well, I guess that's another way you can do it. It's just complain.
Okay, how are you both directing it? What does it look like as these individuals do their thing?
I'm hoping there's a point at which it would be really advantageous to have a supercharged burst of flame to like really heat up the sails, because that's probably about the extent to which Basil can help here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I want to pivot the boat. I want to pivot the skyship. I want to do some like Fast and the Furious kind of moves here. I want our boat to push/hit them at an angle that shocks them just a second. Like they were ready to be the attacker, and I want them to like jostled a bit or pushed off their own game from being hit from a little bit more of a tilted angle type of situation.
Okay, so there's a point where you both look to each other, and you know there's that moment, and Boots, as you sort of spin that wheel round, is when Basil throws that heat, and sort of you can just throw it in there, and that side of the sail, just the light erupts over it as the whole sail lights up. And as this other ship comes hurtling towards you, it's almost as if you skim it at the side, not making contact at all as it comes round. They, however, will do. Hang on, let's. Okay, so two of those, as you go past, you can see two, when I say cannons, they're not like cannons, they're like grappling hooks. Things come firing across the board, and you can see them, particularly where you are, Sulinar, is these grappling hooks come wrapping around and clamping into the wood of the ship as they start to pull it closer. And some of them start to run and jump on board. Could you roll initiative for me, please? Oof. Could we please have Basalt and Sulinar roll again just to see who goes first on that one, please?
I'd be happy to go second if that works out.
Yeah? Okay, let's do that. So let's go. Let's have that. Let's roll for them. Oh. God, these rolls are low today. And boots. Okay. Then, at this, Sulinar, it is your turn first. So as you've seen this, these hooks have come on. They're pulling the ship closer and closer. They've dug into the wood, and you can see 4 of these very tall skeletons, almost this huge, as they both wield these very sort of crude looking jagged blades, one in each hand. You can see the skeleton face within this helmet, which it covers sort of up to the jawline and around the head. Rib cage almost completely exposed apart from this small sort of chest plate, which seems to cover one of the arms, and their forearms are fully plated. These very tall legs, you notice the feet are almost like bird claws as they stand. They're very, very big. They're very sort of, you can hear the clack as they walk, and some of them jump on board this ship. And huge furs of, at first, well, at least you think they're furs, and you see moss has grown around their shins, almost forming like these protective boots. What would you like to do?
I'd asked in the chat if I was in the am I allowed to turn into something from out of the abyss?
Of course.
Then I would like to suddenly no longer be a orc. I will now be a giant rocktopus.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
All right, and my bark skin carries over because it's concentration, so as long as they don't hit me too hard. And so a giant octopus, but the head of it looks like it's covered in a chitinous rock, and rock-covered tentacles just suddenly poofs into existence, probably shoving a few people who might be around out of the way. Blub 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 is the only way to say sorry in octopus. And with a reach of 15, I'm going to try and knock one of them off before it gets on the ship.
Okay, roll for me, please. Yes, that definitely. Describe it as this sort of this skeleton comes jumping on the 2 blades. How do you knock it off?
It's just going to be just one big wild sweep, and I'm going to try and go for the mossy ankles, knock it out so that it loses its balance. Hopefully, if it's enough to knock it off, I want to just kind of bounce on its pelvis and then springboard off with a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, perfect. It's this thing, the rest of you, as both Basil and Boots are pulling this this ship round, you can see the captain draw her blade and start running towards where you are, Sulanar, but it's coming towards her as you swipe that tentacle, and it goes crashing off the side of the boat, and you see it fall down into the King's Forest. Basil, it is your turn. You can see 3 more are currently on the ship. More seem to be trying to come on.
Okay. The skull structure of these skeletons, is it humanoid or is it something different? I'm just curious. They have bird
It's
feet.
humanoid. It's got bird feet, but it's a very humanoid. If anything, at most it has a slightly larger jaw, but it seems to be particularly humanoid.
All right. We have 3 skeletons right now to deal with.
We do.
But a whole boat left of skeletons.
There seems to be about 4 or 5 on the boat, and they're not on your boat yet.
Is the captain anywhere near me?
Yeah, in fact, she's probably just running past you to get towards where Sulanar is.
Okay. So, of course, I've got other stuff I'm supposed to do at some point here, but I have to ask the captain, these sails, if you were to, say, set them on fire, is that going to send a boat down to the ground?
Are you going to
Not
set
our
my...
boat. Not the other boat.
And she sort of looks over. It's like, they have 1 engine. We could get over there, disable it. If you then set fire to their sails, it'll definitely go down.
But it doesn't just go down. All right, let me take care of the skeletons first, and then we can debate how that works. And then I'll do a scorching ray at some skeletons. So, where's my spell? Scorching ray. That's the second level spell. I get 3 rays of fire, so I'm going to do 1 per skeleton. And I'll just push that button 3 times. And 1 more.
Oof. Yeah, 2 of them definitely hit. One of the first 2 you have you rolled damage on them? Could you roll damage?
I will do the damage
those,
now, yes.
please? Okay. as you do, you sort of throw that fire out towards them as they're trying to sort of come towards you, and with the mix of like the hot air, they start to slow down, almost trying to walk through these flames towards you, but they're just being slowed down. And you can see one part of the armor on this, there's this big sort of metal on their armor shielding their shoulder, and you can see it start to melt in the intense heat as it gets hotter and hotter, and it glows red, and you can see it trying to throw it off of itself as it starts to melt. It is their turn. So one of them is the only one who can actually go for attack right now. He's going for assault. I think an 18 hits, doesn't it?
It's quite a good hit, yes.
Yeah. Okay. You can see this one, as much as their two fellow skeletons seem to be sort of trying to move through this flame, they're almost shielding the third that walks through your flame and this sort of the smoke as it starts to build up around these creatures. And it brings up one of its blades. It just one damage, but it sort of comes down, sort of as if it's trying to fight through these flames, and it swings this very nasty blade towards you. If anything, how I see it is with Basalt's arms out. I think it sort of swings trying to get at you wildly, and it does slice through your jacket and sort of just gets the top of your arm. Nothing bad, but you can definitely feel it, like that sting, almost like claw, and it sort of screeches at you as this happens. Boots, what are you doing as you are moving this ship round?
I'm trying to continue moving our boat on. So I'm trying to maintain the momentum that we have from the burst, and I'm basically trying to continue to push us away from. I'm trying to strain the ropes, so I am leaning us like away from the target, and I'm trying to slightly tilt the boat so that as I do it, it's not 100% boardable space.
Okay, could you do another sleight of hand, please?
Oof.
Oof. Okay, as you try to turn it.
Yep.
And as you do, you can see these grappling hooks have dug into the wood on like the barrier along the side, and you hear that horrible creak of wood as you tip the boat just slightly to the side to strain it. And on one of them, the barrier snaps.
Sure.
So yes, you do get one of them off, and it spins off.
Sure.
But you can see a rip effectively in the side of the deck where the thing was. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look too permanently damaged, but at the same time, it's given the opportunity as it's turned round for another of these skeletons to sort of jump from their bow onto yours.
Sure.
And it is Sudanar's turn.
All right, so I think, are there any skeletons immediately coming at me?
There is one, well actually no, the two main ones, there's three at the moment sort of heading towards Basalt. Two of them seem very, very slow. One of them says you've just seen him get caught by one, but you can see the skeleton that's just jumped from the enemy ship onto your bow.
Okay, the one that just jumped, if it's within 15 feet, I'll take a swing, knock it back over.
Yeah, that hits. Can you roll damage for me, please?
Oof.
So, yeah, this one I'm going to wrap the tentacle around the torso, give it a little whack on the deck, and then just fling it.
Okay. As that happens, you feel sort of like that crush. You hear the crunch of the metal as it goes, as it sort of drops the two blades, as you just, again, fling it like a ragdoll out into this abyss. You see it drop down into the King's Forest. It is Basalt's turn. You've just been sort of struck by this one that came towards you. The other two still seem to be very damaged from the flames and are trying to get it off themselves.
Right, well, we've got to keep things conservative still because everything on our ship is flammable. So we'll just do a little bit of fire again, and we'll just do a firebolt at the one that's attacking me directly. So
Okay.
I'll just take a little step back and just shoot a small bolt of fire at it.
Oh,
Ta-da!
okay, roll damage for me, please. Okay. Look. Okay, so the one in front of you, as it's sort of it's raised up to swing again, and as you sort of caught your arm, you've thrown your other out, and this flame hits it, and it sort of sends it back past the other two as it hits the side of the ship where it looks like it's broken. It's sort of half. It's still on the ship, but you can see where it almost rolled off the side, and it looks pretty bad. You can see it very singed. You can see it again trying to get its armor off as it starts to melt. It is their turn. The first one sort of starts running towards where Boots is at the helm, seeing him manage to try and control the ship. Assuming a 5 doesn't hit.
Correct.
Yeah. This one comes charging up the stairs towards you, Boots, and you see it coming straight off, and as it swings sort of manically at you with one of these blades and sort of snarling and hissing towards you, the other has seen its two friends flung off a ship and starts heading towards you, Sulinar. And I'm guessing I am not rolling well today, and I'm guessing a 7 doesn't hit either. Okay. So, Boots, it is your turn as this thing has come and sort of swiped towards you.
I'm assuming it's within 60 feet of me type of situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. I'm assuming that since I'm on the helm, which is like the deck section, there is like a deck, like a alarm bell of some sort somewhere within range of me, or is it like far enough away, like the thing that would gather people for duty type of situation?
I'd say it's far enough. Yeah. What sort of thing are you trying to do with it?
I want to hit that and cast Toll the Dead. So it's like trying to like mess up the target and also like reinforce that where I'm trying to draw attention for defend.
Fab. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Toll the Dead. So I just whoop.
Yeah. Yeah, describe what it looks like.
So it's like I do that. I duck around the target. I pop back up. I keep my foot in the bottom of the wheel so it continues to hold its position. Mm-hmm. I look back and I punch the deck bell as I catch Spare the Dying with my other hands. It's like very dexterous flip around, boom, and then it's trying to. It just goes boom, and then it's a call to defend.
Okay, and what is the wisdom save? What's your spell thing I need to?
Spell DC 13.
13. 8. It does not. It clamps its ears, its hands, these sort of long skeletal hands, which don't seem to be covered. You can see these huge wristbands with these purple gems in the side, clamping it over its ears, almost like the metal is ringing in this skeleton as it is. And that all of you will hear almost like this echo of this bell that just tolls out. And beneath you, I will say, you see the forest sort of wave as all the trees bend in one direction as you do that. Sulinar, it is your turn.
All right. If I'm not immediately threatened, I'm going to try and yank one of the grappling hooks out.
Could you roll me an athletics check, please? Yeah, never mind, strength. Yeah, go for it.
I'm doing good tonight.
Are you like wrapping your tentacles around it and just ripping it out?
I wrap the tentacle around and around, and I try and just give it as much leverage and pull maybe a little twist to try and do as little structural damage to our boat as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say on a nat 20 you can absolutely do that. You sort of pull it out, you see splinters sort of burst out of it, but you manage to fling it over the side. And there's 3 skeletons left on here, but you have managed to make sure the ships are no longer connected.
So I'm going to move into range of the other skeletons then.
Okay. And you have, as I said, you've flung that off. Basil, it is your turn. You've got the 2 in front of you. You've got the one you just flung all the way back. But he looks pretty damaged. The 2 either side of you They look damaged. They don't look like they're on their last legs, but they're not looking great.
I think the hard part here is deciding how safe it is to set things on fire on a ship, and I'm leaning towards not. As a general rule, I think
I
it is
mean,
not
you know,
safe.
I wouldn't mind.
Basil, I think, is kind of a nervous Nelly in the first place. If you put him on board of a wooden thing that's in the air, however many 100 feet up, I don't think he's really going to want to set it on fire too much. So I will just firebolt the one that's over here on my right, who we're going to assume is super great as a target. And yeah, that's not. Oh well, I can't roll 20 every time.
Sadly, that does not hit. It sort of sees you coming as he's watched you do it before, and he sort of manages to throw itself out of the way, sort of falling down onto the deck. And I will say, you notice that this one in particular is heading towards the engines on the back of the ship. It is not interested in you so much anymore.
Okay.
Okay, it is their turn. I'm going to roll for this one. It's currently moving towards the main. Controls 14. Okay, I will say that what you do see on this is the skeleton runs to the side of the ship and jumps. You can see its hand swinging on as it curves itself, holding on to the outside of the ship, and it starts to climb down the side and you know the engine is down there, but it has started to move down there. And Boots, it is your turn.
How? So we have a new target jumped on the boat, and it's on the outside of the boat going to the engine room.
It's not heading to the engine room. It's heading directly to the actual
engine.
Because they're not on.
Sure.
Well, they are, but not like.
Where is the back of the boat compared to their boat? I want to flip the boat around and smash it into its own boat.
Okay, I see. You could definitely with a sleight of hand check try it, and I would also say a strength check as well, because this is going to be a heavy and fast movement round. So if you could do both of them, please.
Okay, so sleight of hand. 15.
Okay.
Strength. 16.
Okay. You sort of see it going down, and you can see it. You hear, if anything, you hear its like bird-like claws clacking all the way down the side of this, ship, and you can hear it starting to hit this engine. And as you do, that's when you swing the helm round, and you hear a crunch of both the ships and this undead soldier sort of meeting in between. You do hear a very awkward crunch of metal, which does sound a bit like the engines as well, but it's the engines on both ships. It doesn't seem to be just one or the other. And you don't see that soldier again. There are 2 more still on board, and it is back at Sunanar's turn.
Right, so I'm gonna get ahead for the 2, the remaining things, and rip the tentacle again, try and grab one of them by the ankle, give it another little bash. I'm having fun rolling tonight.
I was gonna say, I don't know what these rolls are. Oh my gosh.
I want to say, I promise I'm not cheating, but I mean, proof's worth the pudding.
No, yeah, you, so what are you doing to one of these?
Well, with a 9, I'm gonna probably just give him a little kind of side bat, and I'm gonna hold on to this one.
As in, like, physically, you're holding on to the soldier?
Yeah, if we ignore the damage, I can try and grapple it if I hit it with DC 16 to escape.
Okay. Let's roll and see if it is. Just misses. You sort of have that moment of like soap in your hands as it's trying to get out, but you manage to sort of wrap yourself almost like a snake around it as these tentacles latch onto it, and it is completely, as much as it is completely still, like you've jammed its arms down its legs, it is snapping its jaw at you. It's dropped the blade. It's not happy. There is one more that isn't free, and Basalt, that is the one that is currently eyeing you because you just blasted it to the other side of the ship.
Right. So I guess it's time for Basil to take that one out. While he's doing that, he shouts over to the giant mollusk. There's one under the ship. I can't do much about that, but maybe you could. Anyways, let me just take care of this for it now. And I will just do. We're sick of skeletons at this point, right? I mean, we gotta finish this up. Let's just do a scorching ray at this one. I will just hit it with 3 scorching rays.
Fab.
That is not great. Not great.
1 hit.
Okay.
Okay. However, it was hanging off the edge, so it does need to make a dex check. Yeah, it does manage to hold on, but this flame that it sort of licks almost, it doesn't touch the deck, but it looks like it goes all the way across it as it strikes this skeleton, and it sort of falls off the ship, but you see these claws sort of digging in at the top of the deck as it stays there. Boots, you have crushed this soldier that was climbing down towards the engines. You can see Sulinar is currently holding onto one of them. Basalt was just sent one of them off the deck, even though it is still holding onto the side, the opposite side of what you've just crashed in. The other, there's only a few skeletons on the ship, the other ship left. They don't seem too eager to jump on, but they are waving their blades as menacingly as they can at you.
Sure. So I've bumped up the back of the boat to their boat, and I've pushed it around. I want to, after I've done that crunch, I want to withdraw. I want to get away from the space, and I look at Basalt and I yell, "Could use another push of power, please." Just to give us a lot
of things going on here.
Yeah, I say that strained as I'm moving the wheel. I'm like, could use a burst here, and then I will hold a reaction to do some crazy maneuver based on if their ship does something.
Okay, then Silnar is back up to your turn as Boots readies himself.
Okay, I think I'm gonna, as it's still trying to bite me, it's obviously not sentient, so I'm gonna just try and throw it at the other ship.
Okay, sleight of hand check to see if you can, yeah.
Oh, that's not one of my skills. Okay. I'll go with my own then. That would just be a straight up dex check, right?
Should be sleight of hand on there, I believe. It's under, hang on.
But I'd be using my Roctopus's dex and it's not proficient, so.
Ah, I see. Okay, yeah, then just do a straight up dex for me.
Come on. This is where my luck runs out.
Okay. You sort of fling it. It does hit the other ship, so it hits the mast and sort of falls down. It seems to flop and sort of just stay on the floor almost in like a pile. But there is one left, and Basalt, that's the one that's it's literally clinging on. It's towards the end, and you can just see it's just got these one sort of talon-like claws holding it on.
I should probably take care of that. So Basil is not having great luck hitting things, and he like hobbles right up to the edge of the ship. He's looking down. This thing has like 2 hands on the wheel. Is that what we're saying?
One, like literally, it only just it's got one as it's clinging on, and it sort of looks up at you as you can see the forest below, and it's sort of snarling, trying to swipe at you with its other one because it's dropped its blades.
All right. I'm just going to use the space where its hand is and where it's touching the rail, and I'm just going to create bonfire right there. So we'll just see it later. Bye. And I'll just make a little ball of fire right where it's at. And I think it's going to make a dex save 13.
13.
I'd like to point out this is the only hand it has to hold on to this thing.
Oh no, I rolled a 13. Hang on, never mind. I need to roll a 20. Because you said, I was like, wow.
I did. That's my fault, yeah. Well.
This skeleton is really stubborn. It is holding on. You've set like this little bonfire there, and now it just looks enraged. It's towards it, and you can see like the metal from its armor started to melt itself to the ship. So it's almost like it's being held on like that, and it's not happy about it. It's sort of swinging, flailing itself, like its helmet's fallen off, and it's trying to get its legs up on the side, but it's not. I mean, it's not doing great, but it doesn't look well.
Vexing.
And I want to say it's his go, but he's going to try and claw his way back up. He does not. He does not manage to claw his way back up. He sort of scrabbles there for a moment, but Boots, it is your turn. Are you still holding that?
Yeah, maintaining what I did last phase.
Okay.
Moving the boat, holding my action. I am going to react if they as a unit with their boat do something.
Okay. You can see them actually starting to back away as they've left this, and there's this. I will say, particularly Basalt, you will see this. There's in this skeleton's eyes, as it starts to rage, you see those purple. That purple again is glow in its eyes. It's just starts to brighten more and more as it happens. Sulanara, it is your turn.
Seeing one still hanging off the side, I'm gonna just ooze my way over there, reach down and give it a boop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say roll for boop. Yeah.
Roll for a boop.
You see this thing on fire, and you. How do you boop it off the edge?
I'm just gonna
Basalt's
do
there with you.
I'm gonna do what like when you catch a fly with your hand. I'm just gonna swat it, and then hopefully it did enough damage for it just to lose its grip and fall to the floor.
Yeah. You sort of see this thing just almost its hand is still seared in the metal, and you just see where the bone sort of comes apart and it starts to drop down into the King's Forest.
And then I'll use a bonus action to just shake one tentacle menacingly at the other boat.
This boat seems to start to withdraw, but those skeletons left on board have almost become completely rigid. They stand to attention, their eyes glowing purple, as the ship starts to turn and sail away. I will say it looks damaged from where it got hit at the side. You can see one of the engines is hanging off. It looks like it's struggling. It's not exactly sailing it smoothly. Boots, you can feel the engine pulling on this ship where it's crushed against the other one. It's that sort of chuk-chum, chuk-chum, and you can feel it almost like when your stomach goes a little bit, because when you sort of drop a little bit of a height, you can feel like the ship is slowly going down.
Our ship.
Not at like a woof drop, but
Sure.
you can feel it doesn't feel great.
I'm struggling trying to maintain altitude and distance and keeping us level. I can't tell directionally from where I am. There's not enough zone for me to figure out a good place to angle or land. So the next, are we parallel level with the pirate boat, or are we technically lower than the pirate boat?
You're getting lower than the pirate boat, but at the same time the pirate boat is going off in the other direction, and it is not looking good. It itself looks like it's suffered greatly in this on the engine front, and it already had holes in its sails, so
Sure.
you feel like it was probably relying on the engines.
Okay. I'm struggling to maintain control and waiting for someone to do something crazy that will make me be able to react.
Okay. The captain sort of turns and yells to all of you. It's like, we're losing altitude. We need to do something. We either need to land or, and she sort of runs over to the edge of the ship and looks down, and it is just a blanket of forest.
Rockster has a climb speed. Am I able to climb down and use my tentacles to hold something in place?
Yeah, I'd say you could. You will have to hold it there for some rounds to keep this attached, but absolutely.
My reach is 15, so I'm guessing I got some pretty long tentacles and I got a good strength. So whatever you need from me, I'll do.
Okay, you can definitely run to the back of the ship, which is just behind where Boots is. And you can sort of like almost make your way down a little bit, and you're sort of suckering one of these. You can see when you're down there, this engine is sort of not in half, but hanging off. And it looks to have something internally broken, maybe stuck in it. You think there's a blade in there, as you can hear it clattering around, and there's a little bit of smoke coming out of it, but you can definitely hold it in place. I'll need you to make a strength check to hold it where it is.
And there goes my luck.
Had to end at some point. You sort of hold on to it, and you don't quite realize as it sort of crushes around the side, and there's like that tiny little bit of metal, that tiny bit of welding that was holding it together, and you watch one of these engines drop through the sky and into the forest. And Boots, you feel an obvious lurch to the side, as if the ship is starting to very slowly creak and turn.
Does the captain tell us? So no one has. I mean, we're going down. So I'm trying my best possible to angle it so we don't destroy ourselves.
You can definitely hear the captain screaming, sort of for you to go take control. You know, like take control as she sort of runs. She's trying to make her way towards you, but she's sort of sliding like around, like Star Trek style, like sliding around the deck as she's trying to get up towards you as you are.
I'm doing the best to keep it level, and so that we lose altitude continuously at the same flat. Like I'm going to crash the Enterprise so it lands correctly, not so it lands face down.
Okay. Could you make me a sleight of hand check again for me, please, as you're trying to control this?
Ugh.
Oof. Okay.
Had to happen sometime.
Before I describe what happens next, Basil, do you want to do anything?
Captain, do you have any helpful suggestions of things I could do? I can put more fire in the sails or not do that. Is either of those something we want right now?
She sort of looks towards you and is like, we need to pull up the excess sails, and she runs over to the side, and you can see these two pulleys. She's like, I'm going to pull them, and I need you to throw in as much hot air as you can. And she starts to pull on that lever that she says, never pull. And you can see these two mini sails pop up either side of the ship.
They're all the same though.
Okay, so ta-da.
And
sorry, yes, go on.
Can I use one of my like reserved reactions from several rounds ago in this case?
Absolutely.
Can I cast Sacred Flame as well to give a bunch?
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. There's... Okay. I will say you don't need a saving this. You can definitely... As you sort of feel... This ship is tipped.
Mm-hmm.
And you have sent the flames or the uplifting hot air sort of underneath these sails. And Basil, you can see where the ship is tipped like this, and you're sort of reaching your arms out, trying to help maneuver it through as much hot air underneath the right sail as possible. And the ship is rocking violently as you're trying to get it through. There is a giant squid attached to the back of your ship currently as Sulinar clings onto the side. The captain has run to the helm with you, Boots, and she's sort of half taken it off you as you've cast that flame and starting to pull it over to the side. And you can see the trees getting closer and closer before you start to hear those crunching of branches, those as you start hitting through all of the trees, all of that forest, and you crash. And you're half suspended in this tree. As you look down into the forest, and it's quiet. You look around, and you're sort of the boat itself is not completely like upturned. It's at a slight angle. You've got some branches that have a huge branch has definitely gone through the hull and has sort of left you suspended. You're not like hundreds of meters off the ground. It's not a jump, but you may want to like rope down or climb down the tree. You can see smoke erupting from the back. Solinar, you can definitely feel the heat from there. It doesn't look like it's going to catch fire or anything. It's just the engine is out. And all around you are these trees. The sort of the light greens and the dark greens, sort of these leaves sort of sway in this breeze that seems to stand completely separate from everything else. The ground is covered in ferns. Some have gone brown and sort of added to the forest floor. You can hear and see all of these birds sort of twittering in between the branches. There's quite a few of them right now that seem to be very angry at you as you've come crashing through the trees. And it is very quiet. Apart from your captain, who's like, my ship! What the hell? How? I can't just go buy a new ship. How the hell do I fix a ship out here? As she's starting to sort of walk up and down this plank, you notice half of it, she's almost hovering, mildly levitating on the air itself as her hair gets bigger and more wild as Alia walks around going, oh God, look at this. Is this even salvageable? As she's lifting bits of the ship up. She's like, I'm in a tree. I hate trees. I don't like water. I don't like trees. I like the sky. It's why I stay in the sky. Now, what do I... And she starts to not panic, but she's not happy.
It's not that bad. This piece of railing right here, and Basil will go put that back in place, and he does a little mending on it. See, it's...
Not that bad!
One.
I am down one engine! And there's a squid on the back!
That's one of the passengers.
What?
First off, I'm not sure if it's a squid, but I do believe that's someone we intended to bring with us.
Okay.
And they did get rid of most of the skeletons by themselves.
Yes, thank you. She sort of gestures towards Sula. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered right now, and I don't really know what to do. And she sort of head in her hand, said, this is my father's ship. I'm in so much trouble. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can
probably write to the House Tharashk and see if they can help you with repairs. And if there are any more small pieces that need to be put back on, I can probably do that. Oh. But we probably don't want to stay in this tree, do we?
No, we do not. I don't like just you're too closed in. She sort of looks around. She's like, I'll get the rope ladder. I'm not trusting anything else. And she starts to fix this long rope ladder, tying it very securely at the side. And she's like, come on then, everyone, down we get. Take anything of importance with you.
Basil's leaning on his cane and walking over to Boots at the helm and saying, I hope that helped a little bit. Sorry I couldn't do more. There was a lot of things that need to be set on fire at once.
Boots is back to the enthralled, charismatic attitude, walking around going, okay. And just like grabs the deck bell and takes that.
I suppose they won't miss the bell.
They said grab the important things.
I don't think they meant for you to take their important things.
I walk on.
Right. Well,
Sulana is probably already on the ground, having oozed down, and anyone who's watching will just see this octopus turn inside out and shrivel into a smaller form than Sulana originally looked. But then when they stand up, he's a 6'2" orc again. Yeah. Well, that was weird, but that was fun.
Since we get this moment where Alice is away, maybe we can just take this second and say, hey, it's great playing with both you guys. Glad we're getting a chance to do this game. This is a lot of fun. And as always, Alice brings something creative, like skeletons attacking us in midair on an airship.
That's
new. Always great.
Yeah. I ended up the last episodes thinking, oh, we're going to fight a dragon. No. This was pretty cool. I don't know which one I would have preferred.
I think this.
Yeah, sounds great. And that opens up a lot of cool things that could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we have this forest, which now we have to explore. And that's always a thing that happens.
We're in the air. So that's really cool. Because I'm sitting there like, ooh, I'm up in a tree, but I'm not in a tree, but I'm on a tree. Character's just really ecstatic about it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So we can look forward to that.
Did we say how high up the tree was? Because Sulinar just dropped.
It was high enough up that you should not have done that.
Luckily, Rocktopus is made of hit points, so I could have survived the fall.
We would just drop back down to 4. Sure.
Everything will be fine. We'll all have a good time.
It's all good.
You all climb down this rope ladder and you step into this. It's not quite a clearing, but it's definitely a bit of a larger space. All the trees aren't close together. In fact, they're spaced out quite far, almost as if purposefully planted. And in some of these branches, particularly the lower ones, as you look up, you can see a couple of wind chimes and what looks like, almost like made by children, these strings of bits of wood and stone as they sort of rock backwards and forwards through the trees. And Alia sort of looks around. It's like, right. Okay, so thank you for all of these subs. Thank you so much. You sort of look around. She's like, right, I'm going to stay with my ship. Did you say you could get help? And she looks to Basalt. I mean...
I probably can.
Okay. She sort of pauses for it. You can see some of the other passengers that were on board that look slightly nervous. And they actually look like, some of them look like her actual crew that weren't that useful in this. But she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but somehow I'm going to have to get it down. And I'm going to have to...
that wasn't the part you needed help with, was it? The moving of the ship?
Moving it, making it fly again.
Right. I could, again, send something back to House Thrash and see how they can help. In terms of moving that ship down, I only know one way to do that, and I don't think you would like it, because it would put the ship on the ground quickly.
Well, I mean, it's better than it being in the tree, right?
No, I don't think so, because it would basically be an earthquake that would disrupt those trees and knock them down and make the ship land on the ground.
Okay, yes, don't do that, please.
No, I didn't think so.
No, that's good.
Right.
That's very good. And she sort of stands there, hands on hips.
Seems quite sturdy up there, though.
It's sturdy, but that's not where an airship is supposed to be. She sort of shakes her head.
Closer to the air, at least.
She sort of looks at you and says, "You're very optimistic."
I'm not handling the crisis very well, I suppose. It's just something to do, pass the time. Yes.
Maybe I should take a leaf out of your book. I mean, it's not completely ruined. I mean, my father's going to kill me, but he doesn't have to know. Like, she's like, you can hear her there more convincing herself rather than anyone else. She's like, just a little bit to stick on back there. And
you were attacked by a ship full of skeletons. I mean, that's really not your fault.
He's not going to believe that, though.
Did we keep any skeletons? Are there any skeleton pieces around here?
No, our friend over here did a lot of flinging them off the side of the ship. Very grateful, I will say, but...
Is the one that we crushed smushed into the ship?
Oh, that was flung onto the other ship, wasn't it?
I said part of it melted in.
You've got a hand.
That's enough.
Something.
Can I look at see? Can I see what was rattling around in the engine?
Oh, absolutely. You can sort of look round as you look up. You can see one of these skeleton's blades jammed in, and it's like shredded the inside of this one. You can guess the other one was damaged probably by this thing, and a bit of a knock with the ships was what loosened it. But it doesn't look great. And she sort of looks to all of you. She's like, okay, so you see my problem is I've used this excuse before when I did crash it. So I'm starting to wonder if he's actually going to believe me again. I mean, none of you are shipbuilders or anything, are you?
No.
In the King's Forest as well. Technically, it's trespassing, but also I've heard a lot of stories of things in here, you know? Like weird things. Ghosts. I don't like ghosts. Very superstitious, you see, and it's the best way to keep safe.
Well, I mean, ghosts are a real thing. They exist.
No, I know. That's the problem. You never know when they're going to just pop up and surprise you.
So do we have a direction that we should try to go?
Oh, yes. No, well, we should probably still head to the road. We at least got halfway through the forest with at least maybe a day's, 2 days walk from road. I've got supplies, and she sort of gestures to some of the sacks that she's pulled down from the side. Could someone, if not everyone who wants to, make a perception check, please?
Okay, and I'm going to do that annoying thing where I get a plus D4 to it.
Oof.
Well, I got an extra 1 out of it.
Okay, so that's 20. Okay. So Basil, you spot this first, and Boots does almost immediately afterwards. You see in fact, in a way, you almost think it's hard to miss a very colourfully dressed individual, sort of leaning against one of the trees, looking at you. And Solinar, you sort of see it at that moment as, you know, it's there. And this person is very colourful. They've got this bright blue skin, this tiefling with these horns that sort of reach all the way back and sort of curl out at the side. There's a big smile on their face, these very sort of yellow eyes, almost cat-like. Big grin on his face. You can see a little bit of stubble around his chin, a very square jaw, but he's in almost like the best way to describe it is like a Harlequin style sort of outfit. But he does have a very plain brown coat that reaches the ground over the top, which sort of drags along the floor. You can see his boots are made of good leather. They look very old, they're very worn and very well loved, and they have bells sort of sewn onto the back along with these little colourful ribbons. And he rests against the tree and he looks directly at all of you.
Right. I'm Basil, by the way. Your name was? I'm pointing at Sulinar.
Oh, hey, I go by Solinar right now. Friend of the forest.
Wonderful.
And you are?
Basil Velderan. I don't recall that individual from the airship. Do you? The blue one with the and the...
I mean, it's a bit noticeable. I mean, there he is. They are. I just wave.
Yes. And now I'm pointing at Boots, and your name was with the piloting and so forth. I missed all that.
Oh, I tilt my head and I'm paying attention to. You said it was a tiefling.
Yeah, this this tiefling, the very very bright blue skin. In fact, as Basil points at him, he gives a bit of a smile, and you see him pull out a very long pipe out of his jacket, and he just starts to light it.
I proceed to smirk and smile, look at you and go, "Oh, I'm just Boots," and I walk over to the tiefling and I pull out my pipe.
Right, Boots. Yes. We should probably check on.
You hear me jangling along as the bell is just ringing as I'm walking. I took the bell from the boat.
That's a big bell you've got on your side. I love it. And as you approach with your pipe, he gives you a bit of a toothy grin. And he takes his fingertip, and you see flame sort of light at the end, and he lights your own pipe.
Sure.
And looks at you and looks to Basalt and Solinar behind you. He's like, "You in a spot of bother? Looks like it. You know those things belong in the sky, right?"
He's saying that to me, or he's saying that to the group?
He's saying it to all of you.
I look up and I'm just entrapped. I'm looking at the boat in the sky, and I have a very nonchalant / like childish wonder of like, yep, boat's in the tree. And I just continue to puff on my pipe. I did not let him fill it, but that's what happened.
I mean, repurposed to make a really nice treehouse eventually.
And you get a look from the captain who just has this, like, don't touch my ship. She's looking at it briefly. And this tiefling laughs and walks towards all of you. He's like, my name is Tommen, and I'm sure my troop and I can help you with this predicament. For a small price, of course.
Insight check?
Yes, of course. Roll for me. What are you trying to see?
I want to know if I'm getting the vibe of trustworthiness or if I'm getting the vibe of salesman, but it's going to rob us type of situation.
Okay.
Insight.
Okay. He seems to be as trustworthy as, you can determine. If anything, he looks to be that he's very much in it for you helping him as much as him helping you. So it doesn't seem like he's trying to swindle you or anything. Also because he definitely can't run off with a boat.
Not with that attitude. He could. But I look at the group and I'm just looking at the tree. And I'm like, so how would you get it down? I'm very more intrigued at the concept of how we get it down without breaking it.
Pulleys. And a lot of people. A lot of my people.
So is it just like really good luck that you just happened to be standing under the tree we landed in?
No, I live here.
Like in the tree?
Not quite in the tree, no. But I was on my daily walk out and about. You see, one of the children came back to camp and said it was raining skeletons, and I'm not too sure what I thought of that, so I thought I'd go have a look for myself, follow the trail, and here you are. Do you have any idea why it's raining skeletons?
I mean, we weren't going to keep them on the ship.
Judging by the look of your engine, so he sort of gestures towards the blade sticking out of it. You had a bit of a run-in, didn't you?
Yeah, do you know what we got to run in with? Because I've never seen one of those before.
And he hands you his pipe. He's like, do you wish to try some? It's very nice.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a while.
And there's that, as you put it to your lips, and this pipe is long. Think of it as like a hobbit pipe, but it is carved full of what looks like swirls and birds, and it's carved all the way up from end to end, and it is beautiful. It looks like it's been well cared for. And you can sort of taste this very earthy smell, and it smells like most taverns do. And he just gives a smile and takes it back, and he himself blows this smoke ring that sort of goes up and changes color and disperses into the forest. Look, I can put a meal in your belly and give you a good night's rest. In exchange, you help me, and I will help you, as he starts to almost survey the boat to see how much damage there is.
Well, I feel I owe you for dropping skeletons into your backyard.
Appreciated.
So, sure.
Okay, that sounds good to me. How does everyone feel about stew?
What's in the stew?
Many a thing.
It's usually
Mainly
better not to
vegetable.
ask.
Usually.
I'm looking around now. So I'm looking at the tree, and he said he's living in the neighborhood, and this is their backyard. And I'm looking to see if I see anything out of place or any other stealth things or people paying it. Are we being watched?
Okay, could you make a perception check, please?
14.
You look around and there doesn't seem to be anyone else here. I will say you can also see this individual wears a very thin rapier at his side. And he sort of gives you a smile and he's like, shall we? It is very good. Grandmother Mog makes it.
Lead the way.
I'm Tommen, by the way. And he
Oh,
gives
I'm
a bit
Boots.
of a toothy smile, gives you all a nod. And Ollie is like, I'm staying with the ship. I will be along later, maybe. And Tommen sort of gives her a wave. He's like, I'll send my people your way. And he starts to lead you into the forest. And I think that's where we will take our break quickly. So everyone go get a drink, stretch your legs, tell your pets you love them, and we will be back in just a moment. See you in a bit.
Yep.
Katie Quixotic, thank you so much for that raid. Welcome in, raiders. You have caught us on a break. We've been streaming for around an hour and a half of this game. And we're getting up, we're stretching our legs, grabbing a bio and a drink. And I recommend that you all do the same. If you've just been watching a stream for quite a while, then maybe it'd be a good idea for you to also grab a quick drink. Join us in 5 minutes, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for the raid.
Hi everyone, and welcome raiders. We are currently in the King's Forest after escaping Shan and the dragon. And a ship is currently stuck in the tree. Otherwise, we are walking through the forest, and Tommen, you can hear him sort of humming to himself. He's not really making any conversation, but you can just see as he smokes this pipe, almost like different, the smoke changes color as he sort of walks along. You see those little puffs of smoke as he goes, and he's like, so what are you all doing out here anyway? Anything in particular? Or just fancied a cruise over the King's Forest?
Well, let me tell you, there was this weird stuff going on in Sharn, like Warforged jumping all over the place and people with weird faces, and I just saw a ship and I ran.
Sharn is an odd place, I've heard. I've only really been there once. It was too crowded for me. I don't like being within walls. That's why I live here.
See, I'm used to this. The city was a new thing, so I had to go see that.
I mean, and he sort of pauses for a moment. It's like, I understand that. Have you ever had a camp out in the woods, as it were?
Well,
with entertainers, I mean.
We had a few pass through. I mean, I come from with the druids, so we just kind of sit around doing our own chanting, but nothing professional, no.
Interesting. Well, I will say, first of all, welcome to my home. And he sort of gestures through this almost opening in the trees as he guides you through, and at first almost like it appears out of nowhere, this collection of very colourful tents, these wagons that are carved and painted beautifully. There is a whole mix of people here. There is a huge sort of fire pit at the center with this, what you can smell, that glorious bubbling stew. There is music playing. Everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. You can see children running around as they sort of chase each other. You can see there's a huge orc sort of lumbering around. He's got a big smile on his face as some of the kids sort of dance around him as he's moving these huge big lengths of glamour weave and material. This glamour weave has almost acrobats sort of swinging through the air as all the way down this material as he grins, sort of almost trying to move the children out of the way as he drags it through. They're trying to lift up the end to help him carry it. You can see a couple of elves playing on the drums and these guitars and these flutes and these fiddles. There seem to be a few more tieflings. Sort of, again, they all seem to be doing their own thing. You can see more tents being set up. There's families here, as well as sort of individuals. And Tommen gives the biggest grin on his face, and he turns around and is like, "This is my family. Welcome. Welcome to the camp. Make yourself at home. I assume you are hungry and thirsty."
What time of day is it?
It's coming up to around like 3 p.m.
I go walking around and just eyeballing people, more or less socializing, looking around the room or looking around the space. I'm usually attracted to just interesting things to ponder at, smoking with the pipe the whole time.
Yeah, you sort of wander around. You can hear sort of these whistles of what seem to be very small, sort of almost like fireworks, fountains of fireworks going off. It seems to be a couple of kids setting them off, and they're immediately being scolded for it being dangerous as these colourful fountains seem to be erupting behind one of the tents and one of the carts. They're sort of exploding in these reds, yellows, and blues as you see this dwarf sort of trying to wave them off as he's sort of trying to get them out of the way. And you can see this very, very old dwarf, this old lady, this white hair sort of cascading over her shoulders as she sits by the fire. She seems to be reading a book to some people, to anyone who has gathered. She sits on one of these logs. Her eyes have the biggest smile lines as they wrinkle up as she talks. This very sort of almost heart-shaped face. And she has lots of these ribbons and threads tied into her hair. And again, almost as colourful as Tommen, but more in sort of big long drapes of scarf sort of thrown all around her. And you see Tommen walk over to her, put a hand on her shoulder, whisper, and she sort of gives a smile, hands him the book. He looks a little bit resistant as she shoves him in her place, but she sort of gets up and starts shuffling towards you. You see her feet are bound in just as colourful material placed in her hair, and she looks up to you, and she is probably about 3'2", 3'3". She stands very proudly, and you get the image of her feeling a lot taller maybe than she is as she tries to look you in the eye. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our home. I always heard that you are seeking aid. I've told Tommen to send some of our best creators. You see, we are used to... She sort of gestures over towards the carts, these tents being set up, and another huge tent. It was like a circus tent being set up. We're good at fixing and making things, you see. And you see a long line of halflings sat there sort of sewing these bits of material together. Can I interest you in some food, some ale, some... perhaps a pipe? Just a seat by a fire.
Boots sits down. Boop. And looks around and goes, I'll take that ale.
And she smiles, and almost immediately this orc appears and sort of thrusts a flask in your hand with a grin. Slaps you pretty hard on the back. It's definitely very friendly, but you feel it.
Sure.
And she sort of heads over to this stew pot, takes out this heavy hand-carved ladle and starts pouring it into a bowl, and it's this very thick stew. You can see potatoes and vegetables, and she sort of half slices this very crusty bread off the side and sticks it from the edge and hands it to all of you. She says, sit down, come on, sit down.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna keep an eye on Boots' feet, see if he registers any kind of, because I've just been so stoked the whole time, I'm just looking for any toe tapping to see if he has any emotions about all this revelry.
Boots?
Yeah.
Oh, Boots is a very rhythmic person. So Boots is always moving with a rhythmic step. They're constantly, if anything, they're on. It looks like they're on edge, but it's just because they're constantly fidgety.
Okay. So it's all fidgety, not just with the rhythm of the music, or.
It's more. It's now that there's a pattern to latch onto, they're following the pattern.
Okay. Okay, cool. So everyone's having a good time. And what's the story being told?
The story is mainly to children as to, one, why they should never be late home at night because the dusk hags come out in the forest. And if you're bad, then you get snatched up and you're never heard from again. But they're also telling of a great warrior that went out into the forest and rescued all of these children from this dusk hag. And you can see a small boy at the front waving a stick around, sort of as this story is being told. Tommen doesn't do it with as much enthusiasm, as Grandma Mob was. But you can hear like the squeals of delight from the children as it happens. And are you still in sort of tentacle form right now?
No, I dropped that.
Okay.
I wouldn't be talking about
I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. But you sort of sit there, and every time your ale starts to empty, it is refilled. Every time your bowl starts to empty, it is refilled. And Bassa, I'll say in particular, there's this. You can see this very small little elf, this young girl, who looks to maybe be no more than 6-7 years old, sort of looks nervous, is awkwardly walking towards you, like she's looking at you a little bit, and she's sort of like chewing her thumb and then like pulling on her hair and trying to rearrange this very colourful sort of scarf she's obviously got around her shoulders to keep warm. And she's like, excuse me,
Yes.
you're dressed real nice.
Thank you. I can't really take any credit for it, to be frank. I was very lucky, and yes, appreciate it. I like all of your colors.
And she looks sort of down at herself and smiles. She's like, and I like your and she points towards your walking stick. I like that as well.
Thank you. It's a bit of a necessity, but it is nice too. Yes, thanks.
She sort of looks at she sort of comes and sits down on the log next to you. It's incredibly awkward. She sort of looks around.
I would like to contribute to it being awkward, yes.
Yeah, you both sit there in awkward silence. And she's sort of like, if you're dressed so fancy, what do you do? Because I'm not that
Besides
fancy.
dress fancy? No. A lot of what I do is dressing fancy. That is a big part of things. I'm supposed to go around and talk to people and make some sort of connections. And occasionally I have to go find something that's very important. That's the more exciting thing.
Something that's really important. Like what?
Different things, dragon shards. One time it was just a pot, but it belonged to someone important. Maybe a missing letter, that sort of thing.
Dragon shards? They're real, like, expensive and stuff.
That's my understanding, yes.
Oh. They were saying that... How did you get here? Because a lot of people come out here. They were saying... Georgie was saying that skeletons were dropping from the sky. Is that true?
It is. I don't think that was so much me. I didn't have any part of the skeletons falling from the sky, but, we had some very brave warriors on our side that were dropping the skeletons. Sorry about that.
I didn't know it was real. I called Georgie a liar. And she sort of looks mildly troubled by this. But she's like, so, what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's a good question. What do I want to be when I grow up? I sort of have a job. I have something I'm expected to do. In addition to that,
Yeah, I have a job too, but what do you want to do?
yes, I honestly do not know. I'm not positive what I would like to do. I know that I'm expected to continue doing these business connections, but I mean, honestly, I'd be more happy if I just got to do something like this and talk to people and dance and so forth.
The dancing's real fun. That tends to happen when it gets a bit darker.
I'm frightfully bad at it, to be frank.
Oh no, it's easy. I'll show you how. But my job is I've got to collect the fireflies first, otherwise we're not going to have any light.
Right, that does sound important.
It's my most important job. I actually want to be a florist, but fireflies right now until I become more qualified.
All right, well, if you need any help finding these fireflies, I don't know how to do it at all, but you could probably show me, and maybe I'll pick up a new trade.
Okay. And she sort of reaches into this she's sort of wearing, it's like a dress, but it's not like a fitted dress, it's just almost like a balloon out, and it's full of pockets. You can hear her jangle as she walks. And she pulls out this glass jar, puts it down. Like, I hope you're fast.
Not at all. Really, no.
Stealthy?
Hmm.
Sort of pauses for a moment. Can you generate light? Like this? And she
Yeah.
sort of like, you see this crystal in her hand that sort of starts to glow a very faint yellow. You've seen these before. They're normally on walls and in lamps, but she's obviously got hold of one. She's like, they get attracted to light.
Oh, I can do that, but I tend to do like a flame instead of a light. Is that a problem?
No. You can do that?
That's almost the only thing I can do.
I can only do one thing too. But it's why I'm training to be a florist. Watch. And with her foot,
Let's
she
both
sort
branch
of
out, yes.
swipes this piece of dirt in front of you and rests her little hand, which has got all of these little trinkets that you're guessing she's probably collected bits of material all the way up her arm. One of these looks like one of the wind chimes you've seen in the woods as well. But she places her hand over the soil, and as she pulls it up, there's this just small sprout of the beginnings of a plant. And she's like, I can't get it any further than that though.
That's still very impressive.
I'm pretty pleased with it. Mum says I'm clever. Okay. And she's like, we'll catch fireflies later.
That's a good plan.
And as this happens, Tommen sort of, the little girl wanders off, not far, just to the other side of the fire. You can see her pointing over at you, like showing the mace, like this glass jar to her friend, and there seems to be an apology exchange about falling skeletons as well. But Tommen comes over to the three of you. He's like, well, friends, are your bellies full and your thirsts quenched?
Yes, and thank you for your hospitality. It was really good.
Not a problem. I have already sent a group of our finest out to survey your ship and hopefully bring your captain back if she can be parted from it. As much as this is a joyful thing here, it's not good to be out in the woods at night on your own. It's very easy to get disorientated, as it were. And now I hate to be this person, but a matter of payment. We have a little bit of a problem. And it's two things, really. A little bit rude of me. But, I'm headed in the direction of Rhodes, briefly. And I was wondering, for one, may I accompany you? And two, we have a little bit of a problem with... Well, that's the problem. We don't really know. Our village is getting... Our camp is being raided each night for supplies. And I'd really appreciate your help in preventing that. As you can see, we are mostly families here and not... I'm an entertainer, not a fighter. And you can see that the rapier on his hip is very ornamental. This doesn't look like something that's actually useful. He might be able to cut an apple with it. Maybe even some cheese. But he's sort of giving you it's a little bit of a sickly sweet smile. But he's like, I would, as I say, give you a bed for the night. More food, more drinking, and you wait till the dancing begins. But, could really use your help in, as I say, one, escorting to Rhodes alongside you. I don't like traveling on my own too far. I am, as much as I look rather heroic, I am a particularly soft individual that skills lie far more in the entertainment field than they do in the swashbuckling.
Well, to fix one of those problems, do you have any animals around here, like not for eating, that have been here during the raids?
We have horses, we have dogs, we even have a few raptors if you want to have a look. The raptors are a little bit bitey though. Just
just something that would have been out in the open during the raids, and I'll pass my hand over my mouth, and I'll whisper into my palm, and I'm just gonna have a little chat, and I'll cast Speak with Animals.
Okay. They aren't right here, right now, but he looks to you like, I can get someone to show you where the animals are.
Yeah, I got about 10 minutes of this. I could take a look.
Fabulous. And he sort of gives you a smile, and he sort of gestures for a moment over to this halfling that's doing a lot of the sewing of what looks like maybe a big tent. Sort of jumps up and comes striding over, hands on her hips, and this big sort of bush of red curly hair that's just a mass tied up into a knot on the back of her head, again with these colourful ribbons. You see her in like this white billowing shirt and what looks almost like a pair of patchwork trousers with these dungarees, like overall tops. And she's currently barefoot, but she smiles at you. She's like, "This is Rosie," and she's like, "Hello."
I too am barefoot.
Like, well, I'm actually a lightfoot, but I am barefoot. But yes, if you would like to see the animals, I can point them in your direction.
Bootsy, Salty, you gonna be good while I go over there?
At this time, Boots has finished the meal, finished the ale, has stood up from the fire, and has walked across a bit, is listening to the conversation, but is standing where the entrance to camp would be, like looking in that direction, and is biting on the pipe, nods, goes, "Yeah, we'll be fine." And then over my back, I kind of go, "Did you bring back any of the skeletons?" To the camp people. While I'm looking off in the distance, I'm like surveying what an attack would look like.
I believe, did one of you pick up?
Well, they said that they were falling, right? And he said he went on the trail. Did they send people
to them up on the way, not the ones from there?
Yes.
He goes, yes, we found one or two, trying to keep them out of the way of the children. We're trying to make it a bit more of a... We just rather than not see anything.
And I was like, okay. I
Do
look
you
over.
wish to see it?
I want to look at it. I look at him and I smirk and I go and I look for like where I insinuate which direction.
And Tommen sort of gives you a bit of a smile and nods his head over towards one of the carts, which is covered.
I investigate.
Okay, you head in that direction. Basil, as you are about to, if you sort of even go to try and move, at that instant, that little girl is right by your side. And she's holding this big sort of glass jar up towards you.
Here you go.
Right, and this is for the fireflies.
Correct.
All right, so I've got an errand later on with Tomlin, I think, but otherwise, I should be available.
Okay, then you follow me.
And she sort of heads over. You can still see the camp in sight, but she leads you over to the side, and there's this moment where you see this huge rock on the ground. She's like,
"Can you lift that up, please?"
The rock.
Yeah, they hide differently out here.
Right, and how do you want it lifted?
Up.
Just to get underneath it?
Uh-huh. They stick to the bottom. It's warmer.
Got it. Basil's gonna do a mold earth and just pick up the stone and like turn it flat like that, just by like folding the stone in half.
she watches you do it, and it's like,
I'm not very strong, and I've got to lean on the cane, but I can do that at least.
I can't do that.
Well, I can do two things. I can light things on fire, and I can do that.
You're like perfect for firefly hunting.
I'm glad to hear that.
And you can see as you peel up this rock, and it is starting to get darker and darker. It seems to get darker earlier because you're in the forest and the sun is dropping behind all the leaves. You can see some lanterns are lit, and she looks down towards this rock, and you can see almost picking up. Thank you for all these wonderful things. Thank you. these little specks of blue light. Hype train! These specks of blue light that start seem to be dotting over this rock as they start to light up in the dark. And she's like, okay, right, gonna limber up. If you can do that flamey thingy or keep it warm, they're gonna be attracted right to that really quickly. And I'm gonna have to
Sure. Do like a little flame in the hand.
As you do that little flame, every now and then you see these fireflies start to break off. And as she does, she puts so much. You can see the effort going into this. It doesn't need to have as much effort. It seems like a much more straightforward process than she realizes. She starts swiping with this jar and sort of collecting all of them as they start coming towards you. And she sort of does that with you for a couple of these stones, making you bend each one and doing the flame to sort of attract them. And by the end of it, she's sort of there with 4 or 5 jars in her hands, and they're full of these fireflies as these jars are glowing up. You can see her pockets are glowing as well, where she shoves some in these huge oversized pockets. But she starts to make her way back. She's just sort of like chatting with you the entire way. She's like, this is what you do, and then you put the hook on the top, and then you hang them on the washing line. Mama says it's bad for it, but it doesn't matter because it lights everything up and it looks real pretty.
I agree.
Great!
And she sort of starts moving around as this more and more logs are being thrown onto the fire as it gets bigger and bigger. And you see this dwarf you saw earlier sort of shooing the children away from the fireworks walks over. You hear, stand back, as he sort of pushes a lot of the children out of the way. And this dwarf has a lot of, it's almost like he's got like a chest plate that's covered in little tubes and little pockets and little, almost like glass orbs. And he sort of picks one up, shakes it, throws it into the fire, and it just explodes into a green. And all of these, there's those crackling and the bangings of almost like a firework within the fire as it starts changing the fire's color. Sulinar, you are being led by Rosie, this halfling, over towards the raptors at first. And she said,
Right, okay, we need to go around here, and there we are!
and she sort of gestures to where you can see a few more halflings, currently with big sort of buckets, these wooden buckets of food, and these raptors with their heads in the buckets. You can hear the munching and the gnawing as it sort of goes on. And you can see these raptors seem to be of a variety of colors. There's a lot of greens and blues all mixed in with a very reddish sort of brown. They've got very, very big, wide eyes. They've got these sort of leather harnesses around their noses, very, very loose. It's not restricting them at all, but they've got where it looks like small saddles are being taken off of them, and they have a huge feather with a sort of a gemstone at the center, which is attached to the muzzle as it goes all the way up the side of its head.
She's like, here we are.
So, which one's the friendliest?
How do you define friendly? Like,
well, which one?
Bite, doesn't, you know.
Yeah, which one's calm, doesn't like to bite, doesn't take a nip at your fingers.
I mean,
She sort of looks at it.
they all take a little bit of a nip at your fingers. It's more how quick you are. If you don't want the aggressive one, then you're going to want to stay away from Bernie.
And gestures to this bright red sort of raptor that's a clawfoot that's sort of weaving its head backwards and forwards. It's like,
I suppose you could have...
and she starts walking up and down this line before reaching forward and taking the reins of this yellow one. Very, very yellow with sort of an orange speckled sort of on the scales and the tail that whips all the way around. And there's this moment of where this this creature tips its head and blinks at you. Very almost like a beak. It sort of flares its nostrils.
This is Monty. This one's mine.
Aren't you just the most glorious creature I've ever laid eyes on? Monty, I am so pleased to meet you. I just have a few questions and then I'll let you get back to your meal.
And this raptor sort of curls its head and looks sort of around at you. And Rosie, you can see, is like reaching up and just like scratching him underneath the door, and he's sort of leaning his head down.
And all Rosie would probably hear would be like honking and little snorts as I communicate with this raptor.
What are you asking him?
So, the place is getting raided, and the people that take care of you are getting attacked in the night. Have you seen what's doing it?
And this creature sort of tips its head, and you can see it's still chewing on something. So it's sort of the jaw going round and round as it chews. And it spits out a husk for a moment, and it starts sort of squawking and squeaking back. Its tiny little arms seem to be flailing a little bit, and it starts to close its eyes, and sort of indicating to you about this darkness, like shadows. And it's more that you sort of look towards this creature, and you feel its eyes lock onto yours, and for a moment you see through its eyes. You see the camp at nighttime. You see these... Oh, hype train. Sorry, it just says level 2, I get 8 disadvantages to dish out.
Oh no.
But you you see these eyes as they blink at you, and you in turn blink with them. You can feel that raptor sort of swing in yourself as you look around the camp as if it's nighttime. You watch these jars of fireflies being unscrewed and let out, all the candles being extinguished. And you look to the trees. You hear this chirp from the raptors, sort of a disgruntlement, this sort of unsettling sound, as there's something in the trees. There's some on the ground and there's some above. And these things seem very small. They don't seem big, but they are cloaked in darkness. They are cloaked in shadow. These aren't like huge creatures. This doesn't look like dusk hags or anything like that from the Thing of Stories. But you get these sort of flashes of images. You see the fire and you see the sort of the legs rear up as this happens. Welcome, Tales from the Grin. Hello, Raiders. We are currently playing some Eberron. And this raptor gives you sort of a blink again and again, sort of rearing its head. And as you come back, almost into the presence, you realize how close this raptor's head is against you. You can feel its breath on your face as it sort of raises its teeth and clicks a little bit at you in a friendly manner. But it sort of swings its head and looks out towards the line of trees at the edge of the camp.
I'm gonna take a look and see if I can see any. I just say, oh, thank you so much. That was an experience, and I hope we can converse again sometime. And I'll head over to the trees and see if I can find any markings, like claw marks of climbing, anything like that.
Yeah. Rosie sort of hurries after you.
She's like, whoa, you can't be wandering out into the woods on your own, not with skeletons dropping out of the sky like nobody's business.
I dropped the skeletons out of the sky, so I think I can handle it.
Okay, well, what are you looking for?
And she's sort of like, she's being that awkward, like, slightly too close, leaning around you, trying to look at your eye level, what you're looking at.
Well, Monty's saying there's little shadow creatures coming up from the trees and the ground. And they've seen them.
Right. So what are you looking for?
Well, seeing if it's something that climbs trees using claws, or something that climbs trees using ropes, or maybe swings from vines, I don't know.
Swings from vines? Okay.
And she starts moving around. She's like,
I'm still going to stay here, though, because you can't go out anywhere on your own.
I'll just go to the edge of the tree line then and not put you in any danger.
I'm all right. I'm a perfectly capable individual.
And she sort of reaches in and pulls out a stick.
I've beaten many an enemy with this.
So, let me get this straight. Every night you release the dragonflies, and that's really, really good. And all the fires get put out, and the place just goes dark?
No, we keep the bonfire going. Who
Just the
wouldn't keep a
bonfire?
bonfire going? Well, yeah, otherwise it's a hazard, isn't it? And the fireflies, it'd be horrible to keep them all cooped up in there all the time.
Yeah, they don't like that. These things, if they're beings of shadow, maybe more light will keep them away.
I mean, we've tried it. It doesn't tend to stop them. So now it's just, we'll see.
And could you roll me either a survival check or a perception check, please? That is up to you.
I'm equal, so I'll go with survival. Haven't rolled that one yet.
On a 22, you sort of move around the forest tree line, and you look towards the trees where Monty told you they were. Rosie is right on your heel, and every time you touch the ground, you look at something. She's like,
What is it? What is it?
like single thing you do, and you move. And you tend to walk around. You look up, you look down on the ground, and you can see scratch marks in the tree, like 3 scratch marks, thick and deep scratch marks, where it looks like something has climbed up the side of this tree, as you can see it working its way up. You can also see on the ground, however, footprints, boot prints, not an animal, but a person.
So see this thing right here? This right here? And I pick up a tiny little thing, and I'll just kind of... Yeah, see this right here? That's a boot.
I know.
You say people don't come out here, right?
Well, not really, apart from us.
So it means there's people involved, or monsters that wear boots.
Monsters that wear boots.
But then over here, and I go over and I run my finger 3-way down, something's climbing the trees by hand, by digging the claws in.
And she sort of walks over and starts like, puts her own hand against it to feel it, and she's like,
Ah.
So
what climbs trees with claws and wears boots? Is that what you're
Well,
telling me?
well, maybe something more person-y is leading things that are more monstery to do the raiding. So could be a situation where we take out 1 or 2 leaders and the rest of the creatures will scatter.
I mean, that's a good point. But you wait till you see him tonight, and then you'll know. They
Look
give you
forward
like
to
the
it.
heebie-jeebies.
Well, it gives me the heebie-jeebies too, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Now, let's head back to where it's safe, and I'll talk to those folks I walked in with.
Okay. Are you hungry? I'm hungry.
Filled up on stew, 3 bowls.
Only 3?
I have a much smaller stomach than I look like I should have.
and sort of looks down at her own.
Okay, I'll have your portion.
And starts to sort of move away, sort of giving a little scritch to Monty as he goes. And Boots, Tommen shows you to his cart.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks as if like it's not really slept in, it's more things are kept in here.
Sure.
Kind of ornamental more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But as you go in, there's this you think is normally like a bed, like built into the side. Almost like a little shepherd's hut style thing. But they've put down some blankets and laid this almost like there's definitely one whole skeleton there, and then there's like bits of
Sure.
another.
Yep.
But he looks to you and leans against the door, but he closes it again so that no children or anyone
Sure.
else can sort of look in. He's like, "There we are, my friend. Well, 1.5 skeletons just for
Sure.
you."
And who's with me?
Tommen.
Tom. Okay. I hand him my pipe for a second, so I can investigate. I proceed to go over. I'm gonna do. So, I'm a Graveborn cleric. So I'm basically, and I'm a wanderer. So I want to use a combination between religious history and world history and all that kind of jazz to maybe a little bit of arcana to determine indication of where they come from, trackings of culture, tracking of religion, were they one group that was reanimated, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. If you roll me both one a history,
okay,
or a religion, whichever you prefer. Also, roll me an arcana as well.
A religion. I have the check mark next to it, so but it's a nat 1. I failed that one.
Nat 1 on a religion. You don't really get a lot from it. You sort of recognize them. You think maybe it's from stories of things that happened long ago. I will say that you had the understanding it had something to do with the last war.
Sure.
More than anything else. However, on the arcana, you sort of look over it, and you can sense that there's something else here.
Sure.
This isn't just bone here. This isn't just an undead creature that's been left. This seems to have been influenced, perhaps. And you can pick up, especially like where the eyes are and sort of along where the jaw is by the teeth, this purple glow. It's sort of almost like a residue. So if anything, you sense it before you see it because it's so minimal now that this creature isn't moving.
Sure.
But it's a very dark magic, and it's a bit of there's heavy magic and arcana used here, and the overall feeling of this is it's not good. It's not the norm. This is something else.
Okay. I would know that. I would like, okay, sure. I sigh. Okay. And I get up. I can't find any identifying markings to figure out why. It's just the last war remnants. I hop down from the cart. I nod as an appreciation for being shown the thing. I wait for my pipe to be returned. And I proceed to relight it myself. And then I ask him, so tell me more, because I missed out basically on the whole like investigation series. So like we're gonna have sorry, Chad. We need to repeat just some information for my character from his point of view. We can shortcut through that.
We're good. Tommen sort of looks to you as he hands you the pipe, and he sort of walks with you. This is like a friend walking with you through the camp.
Sure.
So, as you may have heard, we have been having some raids in the evening, at night. It's not... We're not too sure what it is, but as you can tell, it is causing some quite troublesome things. We are losing supplies, we are losing other...
Has it attacked people?
Only those who have attacked it first is something, it's a very awkward position for me, you see. These are my people, this is my family. I ask them to defend what is theirs, but if they defend what is theirs, then they are attacked. And we are not fighters. We're performers.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And he nods and looks around the camp and goes, do they come from all directions? Do they come one way? Can you see them?
See them, yes, but they move fast. Like animals. From all over. Particularly over nearby the raptors, deeper into the forest. The reason we now put the raptors and the horses and dogs over in that direction is they're very quick to alert us.
Do they come across the ground or do they come out of the trees?
It's a bit of both, really.
And I start looking around and like, for those familiar, I'm basically doing like a Robin Hood style. How can I redesign a fortification mentality? My cleric has been around and is spending time mapping out in the head where to make some form of defensive position of sorts. And while I'm listening, I'm steering the direction so I can walk the circle of camp. And as I'm walking, I'm using my quarterstaff to start indenting the ground every so often because I want to set up tripwires of sorts across the benchmark of I want to do about 6 feet off the ground, so it's just enough you have to step over. But if something's running, it's going to hit it. And I also start looking at the tree lines for where I could start putting more or less a net type catch in every certain zone that would, if it was a trip line is here, I want the net over here so it weaves around the pamp. I'm going to spend like 2 hours.
Okay, what I will say is as well, you can see that there's almost like these disc-like wooden platforms built in the tree.
Sure.
There, you can definitely see some elves and orcs up there. They seem to be keeping a lookout after everything that has been going on. And I will say you can definitely set up almost like Tommen sort of enlists you with a couple of the kids and like the older kids as well. And they provide a lot of things that make noise, small bells, small sort of like bits of wood and wind chimes and metal that can clack together, and they sort of help you feed it.
I also want to pull. I want him to get me one of the like lead archers. So if they're all orc defending, I want them to bring me one of the lead archers. I want to spend shortcutting. I want to spend a couple minutes discussing how we can take the arrows and tie rope lines at the back of the arrows, so that when we're not using them to ping, we're using them to create large line nets to capture targets.
Oh yeah, like you'll have one of the few humans you see here actually sort of walks over. She has this bright red hair. She's got a very big sort of smile on her face, a very tan skin, lots and lots of freckles sort of all over her nose. She gives you a bit of a grin. She's quite small. She looks to be about 5'2". And she sort of sits with you. Her name is Jennifer, and you can tell she's the lead archer because she is covered in like all of these different things for all the different bits of arrows. These quivers aren't the long ones, they're very sort of short and stocky, and the huge arrows that come out, and these look heavy. These look like they could do some damage. And she sits with you as you explain all the things that she needs to pass on to her troops. Okay. Vassal, you have been sort of dragged around the perimeter of this place, hanging up these jars of fireflies for these lights. And to all of you, it is getting dark now. So it's starting to get darker and darker. And if anything, the camp starts to liven up. You can see that a lot of the very much the younger children, I'm talking like maybe 1 or 2 years old, are being gathered up and put to sleep and things like that. But there's a lot of the younger children running around the fires with these streamers that seem to very, very colourful streamers made for them. This huge orc from earlier also going around, and that dwarf that is covered in these trinkets, these bits and bobs and things like that. There's a moment where he steps forward and he takes 2 of these glass balls, smashes them together, and then throws his hands up in the air, and it starts off with this almost like black, like gunpowder, silvery substance. And as soon as it hits the heat above the fire, you see these creatures take form. These dragons, these birds, almost in this colourful sort of whirl of magic. And the music kicks in. And almost immediately you hear the drums pick up, you hear the guitar get strummed, and people start dragging each other and spinning and twirling as they go. And Basalt, that little girl, stands there. She sort of brushes her hands down. She sort of takes the extra stuff out of her pockets. She's like,
you said you wanted to know how to dance.
I did say that, yes. Basalt is bobbing off time. He just clearly does not have the rhythm that everyone else has right here, but...
And she sort of holds out a little hand to you. And she's very short. Like, this is is tiny.
Okay, so when my dad taught me how to dance, I stood on his feet. Do you want to stand on my feet?
I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. Should I stand on you? I tell you what, just try and copy me.
And first of all, she's literally just looking down at your feet and her feet, and she's moving you backwards and forwards. It's not like a proper dance at first, and she's just making you sort of move almost very statically. But after a while, she starts spinning herself round, still holding onto your hand as she spins round. Is there anything in particular Basalt would do?
He's just going to be really bad at this. He has one knee that's almost totally frozen, and he's walking with this cane. He really would enjoy the idea that he could dance, but he is really having a hard time even just moving this much without falling on top of this girl. So he's just going to enjoy the spectacle and bob gently.
You can bob gently. She seems very happy about this. She's still trying to there's every now and then you feel yourself get dragged as she gets probably a little bit excited and drags you over at one point. I will say Sulinar and Boots, you can see that Basalt is currently being dragged around the campfire in a form of dance.
I smirk as I'm walking around, and I walk back to the people that are making those firework stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I walk by, I tap on the shoulder, I whisper, I ask for a handful of that stuff and a bunch of extra jars, and I go back to the tree line, and every so many trees I stick a jar full of that chemical. So it's like firefly jar, next tree over, empty jar with chemicals with a ribbon, and now we have targets to light up with our magic missile spells when things run from the woods.
Perfect. This dwarf is very, very sort of very almost jet black hair. This again almost very, very tan skin, a big smile on his face. This huge nose is probably his main feature you see, because he's got so much beard that you can mainly just see his eyes and his nose that comes straight out. And he's got this sort of like this tattoo across the top of it, and there's a big smile of white teeth beneath this beard. But it sort of looks to you, he's like, I'm Durgar. And you are? Who are you who is taking my delights and making weapons from them?
Oh, hi, I'm Boots.
Boots.
Yep.
It's a delightful name, child.
These boots are made for walking.
I should hope so. As he looks down at your feet.
They are very nice boots.
He looks at his, which looked like they were fancy maybe once.
Yep.
But he sort of clicks his heels. He's like, I'm very fond of my boots.
And I give a nice I give like a respectful repose. My character is aloof but is never disrespectful about it. Then proceeds to calmly instruct and whisper in the ear about how your delights will also delight the enemy, enough for us to stop them from terrorizing.
And he sort of looks to, he's like, are you just looking for a bang, or are you looking for a bit more of an illusion to throw at them?
Why not both? And I chuckle and smile and offer my pipe.
Yeah, and he sort of grins himself. He sort of shakes his hand and pulls out his own much smaller pipe.
Sure.
And starts to walk the perimeter with you as he sort of goes round.
Yep, and we're going to spend time setting up that stuff.
So, I'll probably intercept because I wanted to relay some information to Boots, noticing that he is doing a perimeter.
Sure.
Hey, so I was talking to the raptor, and they told me that there's things coming from the trees. So this perimeter here, we got to keep an eye up in the sky. 3-clawed creatures that just scrabble up the trees. But I found boot prints of a person in an area where no one from this camp goes, just on the outskirts. So there may be one master or a few.
I'm sitting there thinking about, and you say 3-clawed and it claws it off the trees. And now I start looking around and going, do we have tar?
They're cloaked in shadow.
Shadow. Have they tried using light spells?
They said they tried it before and nothing didn't work. I mostly asked if they kept the lights on, but I don't know what a bright light would do to them except expose them at the very least.
You get the feeling that, again, as these people are entertainers, there's a few spellcasters, but a lot of these aren't spellcaster people here.
So I got a thought that so one of the things I can turn into can speak into your brain. And I could keep a lookout if someone stays about 30 feet and give a description, kind of call out things. Really easy to hide, little rat with my brain sticking out. Kind of creepy, but I mean, gotta use what we can, right?
I have Mind Link. This is not a character, I guess. I can be telepathic 10 feet. Wait.
Per level.
Yeah, so 30 feet away. I don't know how long that lasts. Oh, an hour. I can be telepathic for an hour as long as the target can speak in some language. So something else we can think about. And maybe I can, like, if we can catch one in view, I can play some mind games.
Yeah, and if I can see who's doing it, I might be able to do something back. I could hide better in the little brain rat form, but if, hey, we can communicate back and forth without making noise, that'd be helpful.
Sure.
Okay.
I also proceed to look at you and start doing sign language and see if you understand. It's more like insert military here sign language.
No, but I do say a few words in, I believe it's pronounced Corey.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I nod and I repeat back in the proper greeting.
And then I'll say, so I'm gonna hang out near the raptor cage area at Penn, and I'll message you if I see anything once the lights go out.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So, Boots, Duragar, this dwarf, is walking you around the perimeter. He is very much smoking a pipe and very casually, keep biting it between his teeth as he's starting to set stuff up with you. Solinar, you head back towards where the raptors are, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You can see Rosie there. She's like,
Welcome back.
Hey, sun's going down, right? You're gonna be heading to bed soon?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, before you go, I got a trick to show you.
Trick? Like a good trick or a bad trick?
And I kind of look like a black hole is open in my belly button, and my body gets sucked into it, but what's left is like a rat that was inside out turning right side out. Except the rat's got a glowing exposed brain.
as she looks at you for a moment.
Are you okay?
As she sort of looks down.
Do you want me to put you in a jar or in a pocket or?
No, just keep the raptors away from me. I really don't want to be eaten.
No offense, you don't look too tasty right now.
It's part
Even
of the
you're
point.
watching Monty and he's recoiling.
So I'm just gonna hang out up in the tree, and I'm going to be the one to sound a warning if anything happens. And it is very obvious that the voice is different in her head than the voice of Solinar.
So,
Do you do this often, or is it like a weekend trip or a hobby or?
Just on Tuesdays.
Well, you see, when I was growing up, I was told I could be anything, so I decided to be everything.
Well, you've got some aspirations there. Did you not want to be like a doctor or something? You just particularly wanted to be a rat?
I mean,
everyone has dreams. I'm not stumping on your dreams or anything. I'm just curious.
You see, people are complicated, so sometimes I decide not to be a people.
he's like,
You bet.
and she's looking down at you. She's like,
Do you want some help to get up in the tree?
I get up on my hind legs and I just kind of strut over to a tree and find a little hole to hide in and just kind of hunker in for the evening.
she looks at you, goes,
Have fun.
and starts. She continues to be what looks like she's how people shoe a horse, but she's there with a big file, with the claws on these raptors, as she's sort of not sharpening them, but seems to be looking after them and cleaning them. And Basalt, you were being dragged / twirled awkwardly. She's tried to make you twirl a couple of times. It's more her running around you than anything like that. But I will say, could all three of you make a perception check for me, please? Okay. As you sort of go about, I will say, Boots, you're walking around with Duragar. It is getting a lot darker now. It's almost completely pitch black, apart from all the lights and all the colours coming around. He's helping you fix these jars up and about, and he sort of indicates to you the other platforms. You see the elf sort of giving you sort of almost like a salute as she starts ordering some of her people through the trees, and
cheers with a pipe.
Yeah, she's even like the dwarf sort of knocks his pipe towards yours and smiles. Right, well, I guess we're going to be turning in for the evening then. I'm assuming you're staying out here.
Yeah, takes a deep breath, looks around. Yeah, sounds like an idea. How much campfire is usually active during these raids? Is it small campfire? Is it big campfire? Is it bigger?
It's not huge. It's died down, but it is bigger. It's much bigger than people sleep around this campfire. It isn't. Some people sleep around it. Others go into their tents, but it's big enough to at least fit 10 people around it.
Okay. I go into like the middle of the encampment, and I just sit there and I just survey the whole circle from all the points of convergence, and I start making a mental map of where all of the archers are and the entry points.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all that while like humming.
Yeah, you manage to sit down and you sort of stare out towards the tree line.
Yeah.
And for a moment, you think you can hear something.
Okay.
And there's this almost quiet, but something moves. Something in the shadows very, very briefly. It's almost like you have to blink and you have to double check that you saw it.
Sure.
And Silinar, you, in your little rat form by the hole, is this hole low to the ground?
I was, kind of thinking of area where roots meet.
Yeah. You everything has gone dark. You can hear the camp still going, still happy. And you see a boot step in front of the hole in front of you. And something crouches down low. And it hasn't seen you from your position. And the hood is up. This is a very small person. There is a cloak around their shoulders. They wear dark clothes. In fact, there's a moment where you look at the cloak itself and you realize why they're hard to find. This is glamour weave. It's made to look like the forest, so they can't see it. You have to look real hard to actually see any form of change. But you see two human fists sort of on the ground where they're kneeling as they're looking into the camp. But attached to them are these blades, which it looks like these have been used to climb the trees as they go. And sorry, go on.
Are they size small, or are they like just a small version of a medium-sized creature?
No, this seems to be smaller than a halfling. And this thing is tiny, but the thing is, as you look past and there's another and another and another, all between the tree line. You can see you can even see some of them seem to be clinging to the tree with these blades sort of stuck in, as you see these very yellow eyes sort of glare out towards the camp. And Basil, as you are being spun around this campfire, you can see Boots surveying and sort of raise an eyebrow at the movement in the forest. And then somewhere you hear the raptors as they start to kick up, screech, throw their heads back. And that little girl stops and looks out into the forest. And she screams.
You should.
And that's when you see these very small, shadow-covered creatures and that glint of the blades. And you realize it's not claws at all. It's metal. Basalt rolls up to his sleeves and sort of pushes the little girl out of the way as her mother comes and grabs her, pulling her off to the side to get her out of the way. There is this moment of chaos where people flood in, dragging others away to safety. And you can see Grandmother Mog, sort of her eyes squint as she raises up from the fire. And she sort of flicks with her own hands, and you see these two blue flames emerge from the palms of her hands. She said, Tormund, dear, we have a little bit of a problem. They're early. And then these things charge. And I think that's where we will leave this episode of Eberron this week. So, wonderful. Thank you. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Otherwise, thank you everyone so much. Before we round off and everything, let's go round again. Let's calm this music down because that's a thing. Hang on. So let's go round the table and tell us where we can find you, what you do, and what your favorite bit was. So we will go round the other way this time, and we're going to start with our kind of rat, kind of squid, Solinar, where it is you are, but yes, please.
I'm Max. I can be found at allmaxd20 on Twitter. If you want to stop by, check out, I posted a game called The Cuddly Critters in the Land Without Smiles. It's a short game where kind of honey heisty, but very, very easy to play. You get to be teddy bears cheering up children. And my favorite part of tonight was just the vivid description of this little camp with all the entertainers, and just everyone in it was really fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I like you. I love the vision of you clinging to the back of a ship holding on an engine. So thank you so much for joining us. And then we're going to hop over to Boots.
Hi, everybody. Mages and Mentors. Or also known as Tom, but Mages and Mentors is fine. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mages and Mentors. I'm on Twitter. Same thing. I'm a growing professional dungeon master for like the last 2 years now at this point, and I do D&D plus education is my big stick. I'm doing my research work on how D&D in the classroom is going to make a big impact. I'm also a magic judge, so magic content. So follow the Twitter, follow the Twitch. Come and hang out. And the favorite moment of the night is a 50-50 pull between the tiefling, because that was really cool, and then getting to slam a boat into another boat in the sky and destroying a skeleton, like just getting to do some crazy maneuver stuff. That was fun.
I love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And last but certainly not least, Basalt, our best dancer.
Howdy. Always good being here. It's always a lot of fun, and we had such like creative players this week. You know, both of our players that we were, guesting with us this week just came up with a lot of ways to like interact with the scenario and drive things forward. It was really cool to see that happening, and always a lot of fun to have a party. So good stuff. Don't forget, Alice has a Patreon where you can see amazing photography content, and I've been promised more stories. So please do consider checking that out.
Yes, writing is coming to it as well. Also, please check out the very lovely Faye. She couldn't be here today, but she does some awesome stuff. Go check her out over on Twitter and all of her links as well. We love her and we miss her, so send some love her way. Also, yes, thank you for plugging my Patreon. I have a Patreon. I always forget to plug it. There's I'm currently building a 1 meter by 1 meter studio because we're in lockdown, so I'm very excited for what's coming out of that this week. Also, I'm a DM, as you can see. I'm the other half of the Scratticus Academy. You can find me as White Rabbit Pick on Twitter. I am coming to other channels in the near future as a DM, so please keep an eye out there. A huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we couldn't do this without in the form of Hero Forge. Check out their colored minis. They're awesome. I love them. We have one of them. I think Scrat's got it at the moment, but it's absolutely fab. Check them out. Also, the wonderful Mage Hand Press. You would have seen their Fey Folio just before this. And also, we have run a lot of dark matter because I love D&D in space, so we do a lot of that. The wonderful Dungeon Fog that helps you build your maps and your information for your campaigns. And also world building, which is one of my favorite things to do. And last but certainly not least, also the Deck of Many, with the Deck of Many Things and the magic moving spell cards. If they also created Humblewood, you can check out our Humblewood game tomorrow. It is one of our viewer games. So if you would like to get into one of our viewer games, drop Scrat a DM on Twitter. You can head over there and drop him a message, and you can either come and play in Eberron with us. We have the Faith Folio and also Humblewood, so check all of those wonderful things out. If you've missed out on anything, head over to YouTube. All of our games are in playlists, so it's easy for you to catch up. And last but certainly not least, there is a Discord also. There is a channel just for this. We'd love to hear what you think. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we will see you back here tomorrow with some Secrets of Dobsclaw and Blades in the Dark. Bye.